First Timothy 1:7. For God hath not given us a spirit of fear, but of power, love, and of a sound mind. This is a very powerful verse, and where Paul is speaking to Timothy, who is one of the ministers that walked alongside Paul. But Paul at this time is in prison, and what Paul was trying to do by giving this message was to encourage Timothy to continue doing the ministry, to continue acting in what God has called them to do, to fulfill what they were supposed to be doing, regardless of the things that came about, regardless of the people that stayed and who left. But he needed to maintain the faith that he had in God to continue to do what he was doing, and knowing that what he was doing was right, and not to be, encompassed with fear, not to be fearful, not to be worried, not to be freaking out that things aren't going the way they need to, but to stand strong that he has power, love, and a sound mind to allow him to be able to push past all the things that are happening at that time to do exactly what needs to be done. Hey guys, it's Kentario Adams. I'm back again for Christ in Comics. We're doing this video, and we're going to really be focusing on fear. And that's why I wanted to start with that verse, because that verse speaks to fear in regards to us as Christians. And fear seems to be a very big ploy for those that are villains. It's a very big thing that changes someone from being just that fearful and cowardly character in any story to becoming that great courageous hero, because they have to overcome their fears in that very instance. And that is one of those moments where they show themselves to truly be courageous, is because they're overcoming their fears. And that's where I wanted to start with the verse. Like I said, with the verse, it's speaking to Timothy to not be fearful that things aren't going to change for the better, that things aren't going to be good. The person that Timothy would even walk with, like I said, Paul, is in prison at the time. And so to be hearing such encouraging words from Paul is something that will encourage him to be able to press forward for the kingdom work that needs to take place, spreading the gospel of Jesus Christ. And we see a lot of that change for those that become heroes, is that they have to overcome their great fears. They have to overcome, thinking that they are incapable of being more than what they are. I'll tell you this, to be totally honest, I'm actually afraid of spiders. But interestingly enough, like I said, favorite hero, Spider-Man. So that's one of those things that always makes me laugh to myself. I'm afraid of spiders, but my favorite hero is Spider-Man. And, I always find that to be hilarious. But anyway, to bring it back into focus, Spider-Man had to overcome his fears to become the hero that he needed to be. That's why, after he got his powers, he misused them. Not necessarily because he overcame fear, but he didn't know quite right how to use those powers. And, that's why Uncle Ben, speaking to him, changed that mindset and allowed him to properly be courageous. He went from just using his powers how he wants to making the wise decision to use his powers wisely, so that he doesn't end up having to continue to pay the cost of losing family. Now that might speak to him maintaining a certain level of fear, because a lot of his true opponents, Green Goblin, Venom, even Green Goblin's son, Little Osborn, he took up the mantle of becoming Green Goblin, and he knew the history of Peter Parker. So in him knowing the identity and family of Peter Parker, that caused him to have a fear that I have to be able to make sure that I'm defending my family and my people no matter what. That's why I can't risk everyone knowing who I am, because it will put them at a risk. So that does demonstrate, at least for a hero in the books, that there is a great fear that he possesses. But like I said, for heroes, overcoming their fears is what leads to them becoming a great hero. One example to also use to kind of speak on the power of fear. Now, I would kind of dial back and speak about the Joker again, but I noticed that I've constantly been speaking about Spider-Man. I'm constantly speaking about Joker. I'm constantly speaking about Batman and Superman. And so I kind of want to change it up a bit. It's going to still be in the same realm, but I'm going to bring in somebody else, and that other person would be Scarecrow. He's an enemy of DC's Batman. And the thing about Scarecrow is he directly attacks by using people's fears. He uses a chemical that if you breathe it in, what you start to see is your greatest fear, however it manifests itself before you. It's not, he's not manipulating the imagery, but the imagery is conjured by your own mind, causing you to enter into a state of fear. The thing about that is when Batman went to go face him, he got hit with the toxin, but Batman had already overcome his fears. So although that is a fear that he had already overcome, he still saw it, but it didn't faze him, because it shows that there is an ability to be able to conquer your fears. And not only that, but still face your fears on a regular and continue to conquer them no matter what. And so that's what's so significant about the Scarecrow, is because the Scarecrow, in accordance to Batman, Batman had to overcome the fears, had to overcome those things that scared him the most to become who he is, so that he could make sure that people are protected and cared for. Villains aren't going out and running amok and just getting away with everything. That's why he's able to put a stop to all of those things. I think that's where, I didn't mean to do this, but I think that's where that contrast comes from with Batman and Superman. You know, Batman overcame the fear of loss, so that's why he's able to maintain himself as the hero that he is. But I did notice, being that in the DC universe, they have the positive multiverse and they have a negative multiverse. In the negative multiverse and in other universes, one of the things that Superman, always loses to is losing family. If he loses his family, he will lose his way. He will completely lose his way. He will have seen his fears have come to life, and he will lose who he is because of them. So he hasn't truly conquered his fear. And that's one thing that makes a hero so great, is that they're able to overcome their fear when they're having to face with it. Something else I wanted to bring into perspective here, because this is a very big hit series right now, and it's also one that I collect. I'm currently up to volume 19. People have been so excited for season 4, is My Hero Academia, or Boku no Hero Academia. And so the thing about that series is the main character, Deku, otherwise known as Midoriya, he had to truly overcome his fear. He had a great heart and desire to become a hero, and being that he was born without a quirk, as far as we know, you know what I'm saying? Being that he was born without that, he didn't have powers to go and save people, to go and help people. So whenever someone was in trouble, it wasn't as if he could truly make a difference. But in the very first episode, you see that as his best friend is getting captured and is being manipulated by this slime creature, he's seeing no one is able to help him. He sees his greatest and favorite hero, All Might, exhausted from having used his powers too much, unable to go push that limit. And Midoriya made up in his mind at that moment that, something has to be done. He overcame his fear in that moment that slime thing is doing all of this damage and putting people in a bad situation. He ran out there and he went to go save his friend, regardless of what he was capable of to do. He showed great courage, even though he was showing so much fear. Like, literally, if you see him, he's kind of got like a weird, I'm about to cry, but I've still got to put on a smile. Because, like I said, that's the image from his main hero. If you watch my video on Passing the Mantle, you'll kind of see a bit more on that. But because he had that instilled in him that he needed to be courageous, otherwise nothing's going to change, nothing will be done, he stepped out there to make that change, to save his friend. Another aspect to fear that I think is so important, if we're talking as, living in this life, being a Christian, reading comic books, just trying to make it day after day, is that fear can come in several different ways and have several different impacts. One of which I think is so important, and I don't want to delve too deep into this contrast, but I want to talk about bullying just for a moment. The thing about bullying is a bully puts the victim in a position to be fearful. It puts the person that they're attacking, that they're antagonizing, in a position to be fearful. I don't want to have to see him again. I'm scared of what he might do next. That really puts that person in that position. But in that same moment, it also puts that person in a position to experience the opportunity to overcome their fears. I have to be honest. The relationship in My Hero Academia between Bakugo, the friend that was actually being captured by the slime creature, and Midoriya, also known as Deku, their relationship was that Bakugo was the bully for Deku. But the thing about him constantly bullying Deku in several instances showed him that he was brave, showed him that he was strong. His friend Bakugo called him Deku to insult him, and even when people hear him now, he tells them that I'm changing the meaning of Deku, and so he becomes a hero that is named Deku, which still puzzles everyone that he meets and tells them what his hero name is. So it has such a powerful impact that even though bullying does do all the damaging that it does open the door for the person that is being victimized to become courageous, to become strong. Some other aspects to that I wanted to kind of bring up is with the verse that speaks of God has not given us a spirit of fear. I want to focus on that point. There's 2 points to that. The spirit of fear can be observed as being fearful, being afraid, being scared of what could happen next, being scared of what you're facing up against, being scared of what's attacking you. There's that version of fear. But the other version of fear, that I want to bring out here as we come to the end of this, is the other aspect of fear is taking fear and using that as your power. If someone is put in a position to be afraid over and over and over and over and over again, they either become destroyed by that fear, or they learn to harness fear as a power. They learn that fear has so much power over other people. So they harness that they have experienced fear to go and put people in a position to be fearful. They go and make them afraid. I know how to control you now because I know how I was controlled. So they put people in that position to be fearful, to be afraid. And that's one thing that's interesting about the Old Testament. I listen to Jordan Peterson, a doctor and a psychologist, a lot. And one of the things he said about the beginning of the Bible, when it spoke of Adam and Eve having ate of the tree and revealing their nakedness, the thing about it revealing their nakedness, and it revealing their nakedness, it revealed their vulnerabilities, it revealed their weaknesses, it revealed what they were afraid of. And not only in revealing that, they knew if they saw that of somebody else, they knew how they could manipulate someone else by their own fears that were made evident to them. So there's a power in harnessing fear to be able to control others. And you see Joker do that all the time. You see several villains do that all the time. A hero would hate to have to see themselves lose someone. That is one of the greatest fears of a hero, is to have to witness losing someone against the villain. And that's why villains are so quick and willing to take people hostage, because they instantly take control of that situation. And so that is some of their greatest powers, is to instill fear. They blow things up. They tell people's truths to control them. You know, there's a power to that. And one of the things, however, that contrasts that according to that scripture, but he's given us a spirit of power, a spirit of love, and of a sound mind. So he's given us power. He's made us strong enough to overcome it, for one, and giving us a spirit of power. And as giving us a spirit of love is that we will not lose ourselves. Man, I'm about to go there. I didn't think I was going to do this today, but it looks like I'm about to go there. So he has given us a spirit of power, so we're strong enough to deal with it. 2, he's given us a spirit of love so that we will not lose or sacrifice who we are or anyone else to overcome that fear. We will maintain who we are, love, and of a sound mind. Now, here's what's very important about having a sound mind. Although you may overcome your fear, it doesn't mean that you can go and use your power all as how you please to take and to get and to have all of the things you want. That's what's so important about heroes having a creed to themselves about what they will and will not do, is because they will maintain that side of themselves, maintain that thought of themselves to do the right thing in every instance. So having a sound mind means that you're going to think things through instead of reacting to what you're feeling, instead of reacting to your emotions, instead of allowing what you're feeling in that moment, your suffering even, to have its way, and you make decisions based off of that. So the power that fear holds does not compare to having power, love, and sound mind in the Lord to be able to overcome the things that you are being faced with. And I really hope that the point has been got across about the power of fear and how it can impact you. And like I said, they use that so many different ways throughout the Bible. They use it so many different ways throughout several comics that they're instilling fear. You know, the biggest guy that instills fear above all else would be even Thanos. He's one of the Marvel biggest threats that instills fear. Like, if you see Thanos, you know it's about to go down. So instantly, with him being there, there's fear. Fear stirs up. In both universes, even for Marvel and for DC, they've even established to where there is an entity known as fear. So they have that power in and of themselves of being that fear. And, you know, even though there's an entity to them, there's also that revelation that you can still overcome that level of fear, no matter if you give it a personality, no matter if you give it a character, no matter if you give it a look. It doesn't mean that it can't be overcome. We're strong enough to always overcome our fears and to always become better than who we were yesterday. Thank you, guys. This is Christ in Comics. I look forward to seeing y'all again. Hopefully this Wednesday. If not, I may even do another video tonight. I don't know how I'm feeling yet. I'm looking to introduce you guys to a couple of the series that I actually collect. Let me hear back from you guys in the comments. See what y'all would like me to do. I actually got a request to do Death Note. I'm looking to go get the books and be reading up and refreshing my memory on Death Note. I remember a lot, but I'll be bringing it back. Thank you, guys. I'll see y'all next time.